Only the killer humans came to the rescue. The evacuation fleet moved like a trembling shadow through the empty stretch of space, weaving past the jagged remains of forgotten planets. Ships of every shape and color pressed together in anxious formation, their engines thrumming with fear. Inside, the passengers clung to whatever comfort they could find, their eyes wide with disbelief. Many species had never experienced the predator that hunted them now. Some called it a machine, others called it a nightmare, but all agreed on one thing: if it reached them, there would be nothing left to bury. Captain Jorek of the Lyrian cruiser felt his stomach twist as he watched the scanner feed. Hundreds of enormous metallic shapes were emerging from the dark clouds of a nearby nebula. They moved with precision that no organic mind could hope to match. Their weapons glowed like distant suns, ready to strike. Jorek knew his ship could not withstand more than a single direct hit. He had orders to keep the convoy together, to slow the enemy, but even as he issued commands, a sense of hopelessness crept over him. "Captain," his communications officer whispered, voice trembling. "They're closing in faster than predicted." Jorek's jaw tightened. "We don't have the option to outrun them. We can only hope someone comes, someone who actually fights." The word hope sounded hollow. No Allied fleets had responded to the distress calls. Calculations on the bridge suggested that no one nearby would intervene unless the predator threatened their own systems. The galaxy, vast as it was, had a rule: civilizations were expendable. Only those who could fight back mattered. And these refugees were not fighters. They were the innocent, the vulnerable, the ones left behind. Then, through the static of comms channels, a signal arrived. It was short, precise, and unexpected. The voice was human, clear and calm. "Hold your position. Assistance is on the way." A collective murmur ran through the bridge. Humans, the species no one called for help until it was far too late. The same species feared across the galaxy for its ruthlessness. The ones who had a reputation for ending wars before anyone else even knew they had begun. Jorek stared at the incoming ship symbols on the monitor. Dark hulls, unmarked, moving in perfect formation. No fanfare, no warnings, nothing but purpose. The humans were coming, and the fleet felt the weight of that word: killers. "Are you certain?" asked Jorek. "The humans, they're not like anyone else." "Absolutely certain," his officer replied. "The record says black response fleets. They only respond to extinction-level threats." The crew looked at one another. A few younger officers whispered the old stories: entire star systems erased, invaders captured and neutralized before they could strike another planet. Humans didn't negotiate. Humans didn't retreat. They ended threats, permanently. Still, no other choice existed. The predator was closing, and the humans were coming. Minutes passed like hours. The evacuation fleet drifted in tense silence. Then, a sudden change in the sensor feed froze everyone in place. The humans had arrived. Their ships didn't rush. They didn't fire. They didn't even signal. They simply positioned themselves between the convoy and the predators as if their mere presence was a challenge. Jorek swallowed hard. "Do they plan to fight, or—" "Captain, I think they plan to finish it," the communications officer replied quietly, and it became clear in the next moments. The first predator ship fired. A beam of blue energy lanced across space, but the humans moved with unnatural coordination. They split, dodged, and reformed like a living organism. The beam struck empty space, missing its target entirely. Then the humans returned fire, not in volleys, but in precise strikes that disabled the predator's movement systems. Not one ship was destroyed, yet the enemy could not advance. Aliens in the convoy stared in awe. Some began to whisper in fear and admiration. They're like nothing we've ever seen." The humans didn't speak. They didn't offer reassurance. They didn't even acknowledge the fear around them. Their ships moved with terrifying calm, as if they had already won the battle. And perhaps they had. Jorek knew the danger was not over. The predators were machines designed to think faster than any organic mind. They adapted quickly. Their attack patterns shifted, becoming unpredictable, chaotic. The humans, however, adapted faster. For every maneuver the predators attempted, the humans anticipated 2 moves ahead. Every strike that might have killed a dozen ships instead disabled a single enemy unit, teaching a lesson to the others. Attacking would cost them dearly. Hours passed, though it felt like days. The convoy, once on the verge of panic, began to move with careful discipline, guided by the silent humans who seemed to calculate every movement with ruthless precision. Children and elders hid inside their compartments, but even they could sense the shift. The predators were no longer in control. Then the first casualty came, not human, but alien. A small shuttle, straying too far from formation, was destroyed in a flash of metal and fire. The humans responded immediately, pulling the debris aside, salvaging what they could, and positioning their fleet to prevent another loss. Their methods were efficient, brutal if necessary, yet strangely protective. Jorak's mind raced. He had led fleets before, but never had he seen such deliberate, fearless control. No hesitation, no compromise. Every human ship acted like a single thought, a single entity designed to end threats with precision. And he realized something terrifying. These humans were not only capable of destroying the predators, they were willing. By the time the predators retreated, regrouping into their nebula lair, the humans had drawn their lines clearly. They were not leaving until every threat was gone. The alien fleet, exhausted and trembling, could only follow, amazed that the humans would not just kill, but would also protect those who could not fight. Night fell across the empty void, though space knew no darkness like on a planet. Still, inside the ships, a fragile sense of relief began to take hold. For the first time, many of the refugees allowed themselves to believe that survival was possible. Jorak stared at the stars beyond, watching the dark silhouettes of the human ships. "Do they ever stop?" he whispered. The officer beside him shook his head. "They stop when the threat is gone, not before, and even then I don't think they truly stop. That's the way of the humans. They survive, they protect, and they kill if necessary." And as the predator ships faded into the distance, retreating to lick their wounds, Jorak understood the truth. The humans were terrifying not just because they could fight, but because they would fight when no one else dared. And that made them the galaxy's last hope. The predator ships had retreated into the thick clouds of the nebula, but the humans did not follow recklessly. Instead, their fleet formed a precise blockade, cutting off every exit and scanning for any hidden enemies. The evacuation fleet moved cautiously behind them, trusting humans who were both terrifying and miraculous in their efficiency. For the aliens, trust came slowly, and even now it was tinged with fear. Captain Jorak could not stop watching. Every human ship moved like a living organism. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. Even as smaller predator drones emerged from hiding, the humans seemed to anticipate their every move. It was almost as if they could see the outcome of each attack before it happened. Jorak had never seen such coordination. One of the alien officers leaned toward him, whispering, They fight differently than any species I know. No honor, no mercy, but somehow they protect too." Jorak nodded grimly. "It is not honor they seek, it is survival. And protection, that is a strange combination in a killer." The predators began their next assault, swarming out of the nebula in coordinated waves. They fired simultaneously, each beam aimed with deadly precision. But the humans responded without panic. They split into smaller formations, creating barriers, luring some of the predators into traps that seemed too perfect to be natural. Then, at the exact moment, the humans struck back. Energy pulses disabled the predator ship's engines, leaving them drifting and helpless. The aliens watched in awe as the humans continued their methodical campaign. No hesitation, no wasted shots. Each strike counted. The predators were formidable, but the humans were relentless. Every time a predator moved to attack, it found itself trapped, surrounded by a strategy too complex to counter. Inside the human flagship, Commander Harris monitored the battlefield. He spoke rarely, his orders crisp and concise. "Trap the left flank. Draw them closer to the central grid. Prepare cascade module." His crew obeyed instantly. Every action was synchronized, every move planned. The humans were not just fighting, they were teaching the predators a lesson. Jorak could hardly comprehend it. He had seen war before, but this was something different. It was not about destroying for revenge or conquest. It was about eliminating a threat with precision and protecting those who could not defend themselves. The humans had not just come to fight, they had come to rescue, but on their own terrifying terms. The predators tried a desperate maneuver, splitting their fleet into smaller units to overwhelm the humans, but the humans anticipated it. With cold efficiency, they deployed drones that intercepted the predators, disabling their weapons and engines in seconds. The predators could not adapt fast enough. They were designed to kill, but they had never faced an opponent who calculated every possible outcome with such terrifying clarity. As the battle raged, the aliens began to notice something remarkable. The humans did not take pleasure in destruction. Their attacks were precise, surgical. When a predator was disabled, it was neutralized, not obliterated unnecessarily. But if a predator threatened the convoy or civilians, the humans acted without hesitation. There was no room for compromise. Survival came first, and they ensured it at all costs. Hours passed in tense silence, punctuated by the hum of engines and the flashes of energy weapons. The predators were being forced back, retreating into the nebula to regroup. Commander Harris did not allow pursuit. Instead, he ordered a careful advance, scanning for hidden threats and protecting the evacuation fleet at every turn. The humans moved like shadows, guardians who would not rest until the predators were neutralized. Finally, a predator ship made a critical mistake, overextending its position. Harris seized the opportunity. A cascade of energy pulses struck simultaneously at the predator's core systems, shutting down its engines and weapons in one precise strike. The ship drifted powerless, a trophy of human strategy. The remaining predators hesitated, then began a full retreat. The alien fleet could hardly believe what they had witnessed. The predators, once invincible, had been outsmarted and neutralized. And the humans, terrifying in their efficiency, were now offering aid. Shuttles were sent to tow damaged ships, provide medical assistance, and evacuate civilians. The same species that could destroy entire fleets now moved gently among the frightened and wounded, offering protection and care. Captain Jorek watched as a human ship hovered beside a small Lyrian transport, transferring supplies and rescuing the injured. For the first time, he felt a sense of hope. Humans were not just killers, they were saviors, and they had come when no one else would. The aliens whispered among themselves, sharing stories of the humans' fearsome reputation. But now they had seen the truth. Humans were fearsome because they acted decisively, without hesitation, and with the knowledge that survival often required difficult choices. But they were also capable of compassion, protecting those who could not fight. Jorek reflected on the words of his officer. They survive, they protect, and they kill if necessary. It was the perfect balance. The humans had come to ensure life could continue, even in the face of overwhelming danger. They were the species that would intervene when all others calculated the odds and turned away. As the predators fled, the humans continued their careful sweep of the area, ensuring no hidden threats remained. The evacuation fleet followed closely, moving with newfound confidence. For the first time, the passengers allowed themselves to believe they might reach safety. Children laughed quietly in the corridors, and elders offered grateful smiles. The humans had changed everything. Commander Harris finally gave the order to regroup. The humans formed a protective perimeter around the evacuation fleet, ensuring no predator could approach unnoticed. The aliens watched, realizing that the humans had not just fought a battle, they had rewritten the rules of engagement. Survival, protection, and precision had combined in a way no species had ever achieved before. Captain Jorek spoke to his officers, voice filled with awe. We have been saved by killers, but killers who choose to protect. Remember this day, remember the humans. They are unlike any species we have ever known. The humans did not respond. They continued their silent vigilance, scanning the nebula, ready to act at a moment's notice. They had come to rescue, and they would not rest until every threat was gone. And as the stars stretched endlessly around them, the aliens realized that humanity's reputation was well earned. They were terrifying, yes, but they were also the galaxy's last hope. The evacuation fleet began its journey home, escorted by the humans who had come to save them. Along the way, the survivors shared stories of the humans' incredible tactics, their precision, and their courage. And though many feared the humans' power, all agreed on one thing. When survival was at stake, humanity would come, and they would ensure life continued. Jorek looked at the human fleet one last time as they drifted beside the convoy, their dark silhouettes against the stars. He realized that this day would be remembered for generations. The humans had arrived when all others hesitated. They had faced impossible odds and prevailed. And they had done so not for glory, not for reward, but because it was the right thing to do. The predators had been forced to retreat. The civilians were safe. And humanity, feared across the galaxy for its ruthlessness, had proven that it could be both feared and revered. They were killers, yes, but they were also saviors. And in the vast expanse of space, that combination made them unstoppable. As the convoy passed through the nebula and into open space, a sense of quiet relief settled over the fleet. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the survivors allowed themselves to breathe. The humans had come to the rescue. They had ensured life could continue. And though the galaxy might fear them, the survivors knew the truth. Without humanity, they would have been lost. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the humans remained at their side, ever watchful, ever vigilant. They were killers, but they were also guardians. And in a universe where hope was scarce and danger was constant, that was more than enough. The galaxy had settled into a tense calm after the humans' decisive intervention, but peace was never permanent. Captain Jorek's fleet moved cautiously toward the nearest safe haven, guided by the humans who had saved them. Every ship, every life felt fragile, as though the shadows of the predators could return at any moment. Yet even in that uncertainty, a strange sense of confidence grew among the survivors. They had witnessed humans act in impossible circumstances, and that memory lingered like a shield. Commander Harris and his fleet maintained their silent vigilance. They did not relax. Humans had learned long ago that the quiet moments between battles were often the most dangerous. Even while the evacuation fleet enjoyed a brief reprieve, the humans scanned every sector, every asteroid field, and every abandoned planet. Nothing escaped their notice. Jorek noticed that humans did not celebrate victories, nor did they dwell on losses. Their focus was always forward, always on the next challenge. Some of the alien leaders whispered about the humans' strange nature. "They fight like killers," one elder Lyrian muttered, "but they care for others like healers. How can a species be both?" Jorek answered quietly, "Perhaps because they understand survival in a way we cannot. They know what it takes to endure, and they will do whatever it takes to protect life, even when no one else will." As the convoy approached a cluster of small inhabited planets, new threats began to emerge. Rogue pirate factions, sensing weakened defenses, launched opportunistic attacks. Jorek's heart sank as small explosions erupted around the outermost ships. He had feared another predator attack, but these were smaller, less organized, but still deadly to unarmed civilians. The humans reacted instantly. Without waiting for orders, they formed a protective barrier around the convoy. Small drones darted out, intercepting incoming fire and disabling enemy ships with surgical precision. Energy nets trapped pirates in mid-flight, immobilizing them without destruction. The evacuation fleet watched in awe as humans executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. They fought not to destroy, but to protect, neutralizing threats with perfect efficiency. A young Lyrian officer asked Jorek, "Why do they not just destroy them? It would be easier." Jorek shook his head slowly. "Humans do not act for convenience, they act for necessity, and when they fight only what must be fought, everything else they preserve." The humans' strategy soon became clear. They were not merely defending, they were teaching. Any enemy that underestimated them was swiftly and decisively neutralized. The pirates learned quickly that attacking the convoy meant facing an opponent who anticipated every move. The humans did not give mercy to those who threatened innocence, but they spared those who surrendered. Within hours, the rogue factions ceased their attacks entirely, retreating in fear and confusion. Despite the immediate threat being neutralized, the humans did not relax. Harris ordered a full scan of the nearby sectors, uncovering hidden pirate bases, abandoned stations, and derelict ships. They moved systematically, securing the region and ensuring that the evacuation fleet could reach the planets safely. Jorek could only marvel at their efficiency. The humans seemed unstoppable, yet calm, deliberate, and purposeful in every action. As night fell on the planets below, Jorek observed small shuttles ferrying civilians to safety. Children who had never seen humans stared in awe at their strange appearance, their dark uniforms and emotionless faces. Some whispered fearfully, while others reached out with innocent trust. The humans neither flinched nor smiled. They simply did their work with unwavering precision, ensuring every life was protected. Hours later, when the civilians were finally secure, the humans gathered for their own brief assessment. Harris spoke to his crew in a low, measured tone. "We have secured the convoy and neutralized threats. Maintain position until all survivors report in. Nothing is complete until every life is accounted for." Jorek realized then that the humans' methods were both terrifying and comforting. They did not see victory as destruction of enemies alone. Victory for humans was measured by survival, by ensuring that those who could not fight had a chance to live. And in a galaxy where hope was rare, this made them almost mythical. As the evacuation fleet rested, news came from other sectors. Reports of humans arriving in distant star systems were spreading. Wherever humans appeared, impossible situations were being resolved. Entire civilizations were saved from predators, pirates, and other existential threats. The galaxy, which had long whispered fearful tales of humanity's ruthlessness, began to murmur a new truth. Humans were killers, yes, but they were also saviors. Jorek's mind wandered to the first moment he had seen them, dark ships cutting through space, moving with perfect intent. They had come when no one else would. They had faced extinction-level predators, and they had done so without hesitation. And now, as he watched them secure civilian lives, he understood the paradox. Humans were not feared because they sought war. They were feared because they understood the stakes, and they acted decisively to meet them. Days passed as the convoy moved safely through the galaxy, escorted by the humans who never paused, never hesitated, never faltered. Jorek and his officers began to learn from observation. They saw the humans' methods of scanning, analyzing, predicting outcomes. Even the smallest details were considered. Every maneuver, every action was intentional. One evening, Jorek walked through the evacuation fleet's corridors, observing the civilians. A young alien child approached him, wide-eyed and trembling. "Are the humans really killers?" she asked softly. Jorek knelt to her level, choosing his words carefully. "They are killers," he said, "but not for themselves. They fight to protect those who cannot. They fight so we can live. And sometimes that means they must be ruthless against those who threaten us." The child nodded slowly, understanding dawning. In her young mind, the terrifying humans were no longer simply fearsome. They were guardians, protectors, heroes. Suddenly, the scanners picked up a faint anomaly in the distance. A massive object moving deliberately through uncharted space, heading toward the convoy. Jorek's heart skipped. After all they had faced, another threat was approaching. But before panic could rise, Harris's voice came over the comms. "All units prepare for engagement. Target is significant, but containment is possible. Evacuation fleet remain behind us." The humans moved immediately. Smaller drones darted forward to analyze the approaching object. Their findings came quickly. A massive predator unlike any encountered before. It was heavily armored, designed for long-range attacks, and its intelligence seemed advanced, calculating strategies as it approached. The evacuation fleet froze. Panic began to rise. The humans, however, did not hesitate. Harris gave orders calmly, methodically, as though engaging in a simple drill. "Divide into 3 wings, encircle target, deploy traps and containment modules. Disable without destruction unless absolutely necessary. Precision is everything." The battle began. The predator fired, energy beams slicing through the void. The humans responded with seamless coordination, anticipating every attack, neutralizing the enemy before it could fully react. The evacuation fleet watched, hearts pounding, as humans moved like a single entity, calculating, precise, unstoppable. Minutes passed like hours. The predator adapted, changing tactics, attempting to break the human formations. Yet every maneuver was countered. The humans anticipated, trapped, and neutralized. They were ruthless, yes, but not reckless. Every action preserved life where it could be preserved and destroyed only what needed destruction. Finally, the predator faltered. A coordinated strike targeted its core systems, shutting down its engines and weapons in perfect sequence. It drifted silently, powerless. The humans moved in to secure it, scanning for hidden threats and ensuring that no part of it could endanger the convoy again. Jorek watched in awe. The humans had done it again. They had faced an unimaginable threat and triumphed, not through luck, but through skill, precision, and an unwavering commitment to survival. As the convoy moved onward, the civilians finally allowed themselves to rest. The humans remained vigilant, scanning the stars, ready to act at a moment's notice. They were killers, yes, but guardians as well. And in a galaxy where danger was constant and hope scarce, their presence meant life could continue. Captain Jorek knew that this day, and every day the humans intervened would be remembered. They were feared, yes, but deservedly revered. Humanity had proven once again that they would come when no one else would, and they would act decisively to protect life, whatever the cost. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Jorek understood the greatest truth of all. The galaxy could face any threat, survive any challenge, as long as the humans were willing to intervene. For in their hands the impossible became possible, the hopeless found hope, and life itself endured. This completes part 3, around 2,000 words, keeping the story simple, exciting, third person, and fully clean. If you want, I can combine parts 1, 2, and 3 into a single, flowing HFY epic with smooth transitions, and the galaxy had grown quieter in the days following the last battle, yet the humans remained vigilant. Captain Jorek's convoy continued its slow journey toward the safety of the outer colonies, escorted by the silent, calculating fleet that had once saved them from extinction. The civilians aboard the ships were finally beginning to feel safe, yet Jorek knew better. In the vast darkness of space, threats rarely disappeared completely, they only waited for the right moment. Commander Harris observed the convoy with meticulous focus. His human crew worked in perfect synchrony, scanning every quadrant, every asteroid belt, and every abandoned station. The humans had become a constant presence, not only guarding the fleet but anticipating dangers before they even appeared. Jorek had long since stopped questioning their methods. He had come to understand that humans did not rely on luck. They relied on skill, strategy, and a deep understanding of survival itself. As the convoy passed near a cluster of uncharted planets, strange anomalies began to appear on the scanners. Tiny ships, previously undetected, darted through the void. They moved with erratic, unpredictable patterns, firing brief bursts at one another. Initially, Jorek assumed they were leftover rogue pirates scavenging from abandoned stations, but the humans quickly analyzed the situation. Harris's voice came over the comms, calm yet commanding. "Not pirates, unknown intelligence signatures, likely a new predator strain. Prepare for engagement. Containment is priority." Jorek's stomach tightened. After all they had survived, new dangers appeared at every turn, yet the humans remained calm. They deployed drones that moved in intricate patterns, scanning the unknown ships with precision and anticipating their every move. Unlike previous encounters, these new predators were smaller, faster, and more intelligent, attempting to test human defenses. But even as they approached, the humans' fleet adjusted seamlessly, creating defensive barriers while positioning themselves for maximum containment efficiency. The first exchange of fire was brief but intense. Energy beams flared through space, but the humans reacted with astonishing speed. One small predator ship attempted a surprise attack on a civilian shuttle, only to find itself trapped in a containment field, immobilized instantly. The evacuation fleet held its breath as humans moved among the enemy ships, neutralizing threats without unnecessary destruction. Every maneuver, every decision, seemed calculated not only to win but to protect. Jorek could not stop watching. Even in the midst of danger, the humans were teaching him a lesson. Survival required decisiveness, precision, and an unwavering focus on protecting the innocent. While other species might hesitate or debate strategy endlessly, humans acted immediately, anticipating threats before they could materialize. Hours passed as the humans systematically disabled the new predators. Jorek observed the crew's calm efficiency. Drones were deployed to gather intelligence, small ships moved in coordinated patterns to flank enemies, and energy pulses struck with perfect timing. The predators attempted to adapt, but the humans had anticipated every possible response. With each failed maneuver, the enemy's confidence waned, and Jorek began to sense a strange pattern. Humans did not merely fight. They taught survival, forcing the enemy to learn the consequences of every mistake. Finally, after a tense period of engagement, the last predator ship was immobilized. Harris issued the order to secure it and conduct further analysis. Shuttles moved in to retrieve survivors and salvage critical components. For the evacuation fleet, relief washed over them. Once again, humans had ensured survival where no one else would have dared intervene. But Jorek knew that rest would be short-lived. Scans revealed distant signals, an unusual energy spike from a nearby star system. Harris immediately directed the fleet toward the source. Unlike previous threats, This anomaly was massive, almost planet-sized, emitting pulses of energy that distorted the fabric of space itself. The humans did not flinch. They adjusted their formations, deploying specialized scanning drones and shielding the convoy. Jorak felt a growing sense of awe mixed with fear. Humans did not retreat in the face of the unknown. They advanced, prepared to face dangers that no one else would consider confronting. As they approached the anomaly, the humans discovered its true nature. A colossal predator construct, unlike anything previously encountered. Its design was sophisticated, almost organic, capable of adaptive strategies and rapid repairs. This new threat was intelligent and unpredictable, yet the humans did not hesitate. Harris issued a series of concise commands: deploy containment fields, activate precision disruption modules, and prepare for adaptive engagement. The fleet moved as one, each human ship responding instantly, every action synchronized like a single organism. The battle began in earnest. The Predator construct fired massive energy beams that threatened to annihilate everything in their path. The humans countered with unparalleled precision, splitting into smaller units to create multiple defensive layers while targeting weak points in the construct. Drones struck with lightning speed, disabling engines and weapon systems. The evacuation fleet watched, amazed at the humans' ability to remain calm while orchestrating such complex maneuvers under extreme pressure. Hours turned into an entire day as the humans engaged the construct. The alien fleet grew exhausted, but the humans pressed on without hesitation. They adapted to every new strategy the construct employed, predicting its movements and forcing it into increasingly vulnerable positions. The humans were not just fighting. They were controlling the flow of the battle, shaping it in a way that left the enemy no options. Finally, after a sustained and precise assault, the Predator construct faltered. Its massive energy core destabilized, and the humans executed a final coordinated strike. The construct collapsed, drifting silently, its systems permanently disabled. The evacuation fleet exhaled in relief. Once again, humanity had turned an impossible situation into a victory, preserving countless lives. Even as the threat ended, Harris did not allow his fleet to relax. The humans began systematic sweeps, ensuring no residual dangers remained. They repaired damaged ships, escorted civilian transports, and scanned the surrounding space for hidden anomalies. Jorak marveled at their relentless dedication. Humans did not see victory as destruction alone. They measured it by the survival and safety of those under their protection. As the evacuation fleet resumed its journey toward the outer colonies, civilians began to emerge from their compartments. Children laughed quietly while elders expressed gratitude. The humans, though still imposing and silent, moved among them, ensuring that every life was safe. Jorak realized that the same species feared across the galaxy for its ruthlessness had become their guardians, protectors who would act decisively when all others failed. Days later, new reports arrived from distant sectors. Humans were intervening in other crises, rescuing fleets trapped in collapsing star systems, defending colonies from marauding predators, and neutralizing threats that no one else dared face. The galaxy began to see a new truth. Humans were killers, yes, but they were also the ultimate protectors. Wherever survival seemed impossible, humans appeared. And where humans were present, life endured. Captain Jorak reflected on everything he had witnessed. He had seen humans confront predators that should have been unstoppable. He had seen them save countless lives while demonstrating a level of strategic brilliance beyond comprehension. And he had seen them care for the vulnerable, even while maintaining their reputation as killers. In the quiet moments aboard his ship, Jorak walked among the passengers. A young alien boy tugged at his sleeve, asking, "Will the humans always come?" Jorak smiled gently. "Yes," he replied. "They come when no one else will. They fight to protect those who cannot fight, and they never rest until the danger is gone. That is who they are." As the convoy continued its journey, the humans remained vigilant. They scanned the stars, anticipated threats, and acted with calm precision. The galaxy might fear them, but for those under their protection, they were heroes. They were killers, yes, but they were also guardians, the species that ensured survival against impossible odds. And as the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Jorak realized the truth. Humanity was more than a force of destruction. They were a beacon of hope in a galaxy filled with uncertainty. Wherever darkness threatened, wherever life seemed fragile, humans would arrive. And when they did, survival was not just possible, it was inevitable. The evacuation fleet moved onward, escorted by the humans who had become legends. The predators had been defeated, pirates neutralized, and anomalies contained. Life continued, not because luck favored them, but because humanity had intervened. Captain Jorak looked to the horizon of stars, understanding that this was only the beginning. The humans' presence would change the galaxy forever. They were killers who protected, strategists who cared, and survivors who inspired hope. And in a universe filled with endless dangers, that combination made them unstoppable. The convoy sailed through the void, lives preserved, threats neutralized, and the humans silently watching, ensuring that nothing would endanger the fragile hope of the galaxy. And in that endless expanse, Jorak knew one thing for certain. Humanity had arrived, and with them, survival would endure.